Hi Smriti, thanks for joining us on this short video session. Smriti is the Global Head for Organizational Effectiveness at Cognizant, and she is also the Diversity and Inclusion Leader for India. Smriti, it gives us immense pleasure to have you with us here today. Thanks for joining. So Smriti, we have a few questions for you. If you're ready, I can go ahead with the first question.
Yep, let's go ahead, please.
Thank you. What was the experience of participating in the 21 Days Ally Challenge?
First off, let me applaud the Pride Circle team for putting this together. What do we gain by having events and campaigns like this, right? It gets us to pay attention to things that are both important and urgent, which we end up neglecting in the rush of our daily routine and lives. And because of the fact that this Ally Challenge was bounded and was time specific, it got all of us to be compulsively consistent and rush to the portal during those 21 days. And what a portal it was. It was replete with information and knowledge. Anytime any one of us is exposed to knowledge, it increases awareness, and that awareness in turn increases empathy. And hopefully, as a result of that empathy, we will have higher degrees of inclusion. The other advantage of having all this knowledge in one place and also making it time bound so that we constantly get a chance to reflect on what we are learning is that we begin to have an opportunity to think about the issues at large and to see which are the places where we want to add either a voice or a vote.
Thank you, Smriti. The second question I have for you is, how did you come on top? What was your strategy to mobilize allies internally?
Firstly, I'm so delighted that it's been placed amongst the top 3. I'm delighted, but I'm actually not surprised. We started this journey several years back, so our employees have been exposed to it. There is several years of work that has gone behind it. And if I give you examples of that work, the work would have been webinars on LGBTQ community and their issues. The work would have included having workshops with our senior leaders, because all of us firmly believe that if the culture didn't change at the top, if we didn't get the allyship at the top, then the kind of shifts we were looking for across the organization would not have happened. Not only that, we revamped our entire orientation deck, which meant that anybody who got newly hired into Cognizant, went through the paces of what diversity and inclusion meant for us and how important a value it was for us. And we supplemented all of this with self-learning sessions and collaterals, which our associates could access any time, any time of the day, any time of the year. So with all these initiatives in place, there was a high degree of awareness. And there have always been internal platforms of support. So we have an internal platform by the name of Embrace. Embrace is a platform specific to our LGBT community. The 21-day challenge was a very logical fit to all that we had been doing. Now we had an external platform where we could show our support. And I'm really not surprised by the outpouring of support we saw from Cognizant. In fact, one of our colleagues, Mittal, actually stood 5th in the leadership rankings amongst 11,000 participants. That is the kind of commitment the associates in Cognizant have for this. And I'll be amiss in saying that in the short term, it was also the fact that many senior leaders joined the 21-day Ally Challenge, and seeing that kind of role modeling inspired, their teams and the larger teams to join in as well.
Thank you, Smriti. That is really nice to know about how much effort has gone into this from Cognizant. My next question for you is, what do you think is the relevance of this allyship in workplace?
The sociologists tell us that 7 to 10% of a population size may actually be, people and citizens who are a part of the LGBT community, right? Now, if you look at the population of India, or you look at the size of associate headcount in Cognizant, 7 to 10% ends up being a very sizable number. It actually ends up running into thousands. Now, when we know that so many of our colleagues and so many citizens of our country, could be a part of this community and they feel nervous and fearful of coming out, the importance of allyship becomes of paramount nature, right? So, what does allyship really do? Allyship is nothing but inclusion manifested. It is a very visible form of inclusion. It is a form of saying, I'm here for you. Don't be fearful. If there are barriers to you coming out, I'm there to support you. So there is no doubt in my mind that without allyship, we will not be able to encourage and enthuse many of our associates, to come out and claim their real identities. To give you an example, ever since we had several of these conversations around the LGBT community, three of our associates in Cognizant India who underwent gender transition chose to make their stories public. Now, if they had not perceived an allyship in Cognizant, I do think that the time they would have chosen to come out and talk about their own journey and their own personal experiences would have been much longer than what happened really. We very rapidly condensed that time of people feeling that they could trust the support they were seeing within the Cognizant leadership and within the Cognizant culture and come out in the open. So the relevance of allyship is absolutely true today, and it will continue to be true for many years to come till every single member of the community doesn't feel relaxed and free enough to come out and uh, publicly claim his own identity, his or her own identities.
Well, that is really nice to know. So my next question is, are there any key outcomes on the 21 days Ally Challenge that you would like to share?
Maitri, I think those outcomes are still being played out. It's too early. But what I would expect is that there would be, of course, another big knock to prejudices. There would be a more allyship and a larger degree of advocacy on this. And more importantly, there would be a lot of constructive dialogue, right? Now, when you read something or when you experience something firsthand, then it's very natural to go back to your circle of friends or teams and talk about it and get into a discussion. And that's what I mean by a constructive dialogue, where you convey an opinion in terms of, hey, whether I agree or I disagree, I can still, respect a certain perspective.
Thank you, Smriti. My last question is a message that you would like to share for all your passionate allies at Cognizant.
So to the passionate allies of Cognizant, thank you so much for coming out and sharing your visible support. And as most of us allies know, that the sustained psychological damage that comes from exclusion leaves individuals with scars of a lifetime, leaves people with issues of self-esteem, leaves people with issues of depression. So we cannot afford to have one single person outside our circle of inclusion, and that is really my message. So we want to continue to be an organization that supports and provides equal opportunity to all, irrespective of their race, caste, creed, gender, or sexual orientation. And as allies, we need to constantly reinforce that message and we need to constantly be role models of that message. And Maitri, I would just like to close with a quote from Mahatma Gandhi, who very eloquently said that the measure of any society can be found in how they treat their most vulnerable members. And I think in Cognizant, we want to be proud upholders of treating all our members equally.
Thank you, Smriti. Thank you very much.